Vanderbilt is going to snap that vaunted 16-game losing streak against the Gamecocks on the road.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. And today, on this episode, I'm going to make a bold prediction. My bold prediction last year was a win over the Hokies in the season opener. I'm saying that's happening again. They're going to beat Virginia Tech. It's not really bold this year, but the bold claim I'm going to make, I said it in the cold open, I'm saying Vandy will finally snap that 16-game losing streak to South Carolina. I mean, they're due, right? But, I mean, I can give you some reasons too, or at least tell you what they have to do to snap the streak. I mean, there are some things, and South Carolina is going to be good, so it's not going to be an easy task per se. But also, Vandy's much more improved over last year as well. So this is going to be an interesting matchup, and we'll tell you all about it here in just a minute. And then I think Clark Lee's on the verge of landing another baller on the offensive line. This one is a tackle prospect from Cali. He potentially has Vandy on his mind. Why should he choose Nashville? I mean, the reasons are obvious, really. There's a lot of reasons he should choose Nashville. So if you're watching this, you know who I'm talking about. Come to Nashville. And then we're going to wrap by discussing this meaningless series against Kentucky. Austin Nye is going to get his weekend rotation starting debut. Tim Corbin's prepping him for postseason while giving Connor Fennell a break and maintaining routine for J.D. Thompson. So what a good move by Tim Corbin, a kind of a look-ahead, proactive move to prepare for postseason play. It's going to be awesome. And this is going to be fun. So thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So here's the thing. I'm kind of talking about some of the more meaningful games for Vanderbilt. And on the last episode, we talked about Virginia Tech. That's the first true test. That's the first road test. It's a hostile environment. It's going to kind of prep them for SEC play. And that game is not quite as daunting because Virginia Tech suffered a lot of losses in the portal, and things are starting to kind of fall apart for them. But it will be a hostile environment. The fans in Blacksburg do get after you. So what I'm kind of looking at here is, Vandy's got back-to-back road games, back-to-back pretty tough tests. And also what's kind of crazy is they're going to get an early look at both teams playing against each other the week before, because Virginia Tech and South Carolina open against each other in week one. So that'll be interesting in a lot of ways, that 2-game stretch for South Carolina, because they're going to see, and then they're going to see Vandy against Virginia Tech. So you're going to get that common opponent before they match up, and you can kind of see how they did against Virginia Tech, and you can kind of use that as some analysis of, where you think the direction of this game is heading. So this is going to be, like I said, a very interesting game. It's a 16-game losing streak. So the mental aspect of it, and it's not in my keys graphic, but the mental aspect of this game is going to be huge. This is going to be the biggest part, because I think if Vandy can get over this hump, I think there's a lot of these mountains that they can climb over on route to a really nice, successful season. I think this is going to be, as far as SEC play goes, this is also going to be a tone setter for any sort of streaks or bad lucks or whatever matchup problems they might have on the schedule. This could ease a little bit of that on the mental side of it as well. So this game is super important for a lot of reasons. Mentally, I think Vanderbilt, if they win this game, I think they can thrive this season. I think they come out of this game with a ton of confidence if they can get out of Columbia with the win. So I think the importance of that aspect alone makes this probably one of the most meaningful games. I mean, it's always the next one's always the most important. I could say boring coach speak. Well, the next one is the first one, the next one. And then after that, the most important game is the next one, right? But like I have the luxury of not being on the staff, so I can look ahead and kind of tell you what these potentially what these games mean. And when you've been mired in a really bad losing streak against a team, that mental roadblock is there, and you have to just plow through it. You have to get a bulldozer and you have to knock over that wall at some point. And early in the game last year, I thought Vandy was in good shape as far as that goes, but I think some of that doubt crept into their mind, and all of a sudden they fall apart. Game's 28-7 before you can blink. So, and South Carolina did well in the transfer portal, and so this is, like I said, this is not going to be an easy game. So here's how I see it. Okay, number one, again, manage a vicious road environment. It's a tough SEC opener, so. I don't know if any of you, I'm sure anybody listening to this is probably familiar with the atmosphere at Williams Bryce Stadium. They got Sandstorm. They got the Gamecock that blares over the loudspeakers. They got, it's usually at this time of year, it feels like they play every game at noon, and it's just hell's waiting room. It's just steaming hot. And it's just a miserable environment as far as the heat goes, the noise, and it's just everything combined makes it a really tough place to play. All right. And honestly, I didn't really deep dive into South Carolina throughout the offseason, but I just kind of glanced at some of the things they've done. They've had quite the portal haul, man. This is going to be a tough team and a tough team to beat on the road. But I think Vandy's equally as tough. So this will be an interesting matchup. And how does Vandy handle this road environment? Well, we're going to get an idea of how this year's team handles it when they play in Blacksburg. So again, very interesting there. Tough SEC opener, man. This is you get LeNorris Sellers, man. And how do you handle him? And how do you manage LeNorris Sellers? How do you manage some of their playmakers? I mean, they've got some other guys too, not just LeNorris Sellers. They've got they've got an impact receiver where they're getting some guys there. They've got they've got Joshua Smith. He's gone. But they have Michael Smith at 6'6", 250 pounds. That's going to come in at tight end and be an absolute game breaker. This is, you have some other guys as well. It's going to be it's Rashul Faison, who was a tremendous pickup from the portal from Utah State. And you've got, it's going to be a new offensive scheme, but like you've got some weapons there. On offense that I think can make you dangerous. This is something that, I think they're, I say they land that's one of the bold predictions, I guess, for South Carolina, but their receiving core is okay, but like, where are they really at there? So, and one of the things I've noticed about Mike Shula, I'm not real sure about him as a coordinator, honestly. I don't know what he brings to the table. I don't think he was very good as a head coach at Alabama, but he's been in the league. He's been with Cam Newton. He's been, he's had a pretty impressive coaching journey throughout the NFL and college. So, I mean, he does have some pedigree, but you have, I don't know what you have weapon wise. I don't know like how he's going to call it, like what his progression is going to be, how he's going to attack Van. Like, I just don't know enough about him as a coordinator to really be able to gauge what he's going to do. But I will say this, going back to my keys, how do you handle LeNorris Sellers? Well, you do what Illinois did. You close the pocket around and make him beat you from there. You make him beat you from inside the pocket throwing. You do not let him, you don't let him step up in the pocket and bail. You definitely don't let him get the edge. You keep him contained. If you force him to run laterally, sideways, and you just gotta control him. You can't let him take off. You can't let him beat you running the ball. You can't let Rashul Faison beat you running the ball. You have to sell out against the run defensively against South Carolina. They will maul you. That's what they want to do. They have a very similar philosophy to Vanderbilt. They want to control you at the line of scrimmage. They want to run the ball, and they want to get LeNorris Sellers going. How do you beat him? Well, you force LeNorris Sellers to beat you by being a pocket passer. So that's going to be a major key. How you handle, because LeNorris Sellers is your first big-time quarterback you're going to play. So how do you handle a guy that has a lot of hype around him? Because you're going to get just about every one of them, and like you get the conference's top quarterbacks. You start off with LeNorris Sellers, you get Garrett Nussmeier, albeit you get him at home. You get Arch Manning, you get Ty Simpson, who will know a lot about him by the time they play Bama, and you get but you get Bo Pribula, which not sure about. Zach Calzada or whoever wins that job at Kentucky, I don't really trust that. You get Jackson Arnold, which we don't know what he's going to be, but this kind of sets the tone of how do you handle this big time quarterback? What do you do? How do you game plan it? What do you how do you manage that? And then offense, man, points are going to be at a premium. I think it's going to be like last year's game. The first team to 21 is going to win because I think both defenses are built to carry the team, and this is no different for South Carolina. You get Dylan Stewart coming back. He's a bona fide superstar. He's going to be an NFL type player. He's not going to be at South Carolina much longer because he'll be playing on Sundays very, very soon. So offensively, I think, and Vandy will do this. Vandy's going to present a lot more different looks. I think they're going to be a little bit more dynamic because they have a better retooled receiving core, which I don't know production-wise. I can't quantify, but you just look at some of the talent and some of the abilities that these guys have. You've got some guys that can play some roles. They've just got to actually do it. Running back wise, I think you got three pretty good ones. And early in the season, you're going to be able to get them going. You got Diego Pavia, who's just as good of a runner as anybody in the conference. So you're going to have a really good, solid running game. They're going to have to try to win at the line of scrimmage. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to throw in this secondary as well. It's going to be tough to have time to throw. So get things out quick, screens, option game, and just kind of be patient because South Carolina, they're going to be really solid on defense. Their secondary is going to be the premier group. It's going to be cool. They got a linebacker. Not really a linebacker. They got a transfer from NC State, Brandon Cisse. He's going to be used in dime packages. He's going to be a major addition to this cornerback room. You get DQ Smith, you get Jason Kilgore, Judge Collier is the other corner. I mean, these guys are really, really good, and you're gonna be really good on the back end there. Dylan Stewart at the defensive end, and you're going to have some other guys that are going to rotate through on the defensive line. So this is going to be a really good, athletic, nasty group. So expect things to be a little bit sluggish on the offensive side of the ball for Vandy. This is going to be tough sledding. They're going to have to be patient. They're going to have to take points because points are going to be at a premium. So get your field goals, get your threes while you can, and it's going to be, you're just going to have to manage. And so this, like I said, I'm really excited about this game because you're going to really get a true look at what Vanderbilt has to offer. Right, you're going to get a look early. Vanderbilt's going to be tested early and often. And on this schedule, and you're going to get two really tough road games to ignite your season with. You win those two tough road games, I think sky's the limit. I think you have a chance at 9 if you win this game. If you lose this game, I don't think your goals are destroyed. I don't think you're going to have a 3-9 season, but it does put a little bit of a damper on that. And I do think it's an important game to get because of the 16-game losing streak that you're trying to snap. So, I'm looking forward to that. So, looking forward to them snapping that losing streak nonetheless. But there's a recruit that has Vandy on his mind. Be a huge get for them. We'll talk about that next. However, I want to talk about Wayfair because the days are getting longer. The weather is warming up. Summer is basically here. Although it's been a monsoon around here in Tennessee, it's monsoon season, so it's raining all the time. However, people are spending more time outside when they can, which means it's perfect time to refresh your outdoor space. Whether you're working with a big backyard or a small balcony, Wayfair has you everything you need to make you feel more like you. Wayfair's massive selection from outdoor essentials makes it easy to transform any space into your ideal summer setup. From a comfy conversation sets to sleek dining tables and outdoor decor, they've got everything at the prices that fit your budget. So if you need that backyard overhaul, you want to create an atmosphere, you want to have those barbecues, man. There's all kind of stuff, man, and you can get a new patio dining set and some string lights from Wayfair to help extend your outdoor space. Like, I know that's a big thing. People love doing that. You know, I love the mix of styles they offer. That's one of my things. Like, I'm kind of like a mix and match kind of guy, which I don't know how that does with decor, but you know, I love it. And it makes it super easy to find pieces that match your vibe without spending a fortune. That's even more key. So the delivery is free and hassle-free. So there's delivery is free and you don't have to jump through a lot of hoops. That's what that means. Even for the big stuff, whether you're entertaining guests or just relaxing by yourself, shop Wayfair to help you unwind. So shop a huge selection of outdoor furniture online. This summer, get outside with Wayfair. Head to wayfair.com right now. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style for every home. All right, thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. Thank you to the everydayers. Shout out to you everydayers. Shout out to you first timers, second timers, anybody that sticks around for the entire show, full timers, part timers. I don't care. However you listen, when you listen, where you listen. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being a part of the journey. So at Locked On Vandy, if you need a second listen, Locked On SEC, man. Chris Gordy does a phenomenal job. He leads the squad shows that come out every Thursday. So get in on those. Get in on his channel. There's a lot of great things to be seen there with Locked On SEC, and of course the whole list of shows. Here's the schedule, just in case. You have Locked On Vols, Locked On Kentucky if Lance Dahl is talking football. Locked On Auburn with Zach Blackerby. Locked On Texas, we got a new guy there. I'd like to have him on pretty soon. Locked On Missouri with John Miller. Locked On Bama. Locked On Gamecocks with Chris Marler. All great shows on our SEC network. So check those out as well. Now, here's what I'm thinking. Okay. There's the offensive lineman from Cali, 6'6", 270. He's a little bit on the light side. His name's Quinn Bucky. He's thinking UCLA, Cal, Michigan State, Oklahoma State, Arizona, Stanford, and Vandy. He's narrowed it down to them. Okay. He's gonna take some visits, and it's kind of all up in the air. But I think I've heard the academics. I'm reading from Robbie Weinstein that the academics are going to play a factor. So you take Michigan State out of there. You probably take Oklahoma State out of there. Vandy, Stanford, UCLA, I think are probably the leaders in the clubhouse. Now, if you want to be, Vandy's on the forefront of something with the way they do the offensive line, the strategy, what's the word I'm looking for here? The philosophy of the strong side, quick side. I think it's going to start as Vandy improves along the offensive line, which they've got some better bodies. I can't wait to see this season play out and just see the improvement. But this philosophy is going to take hold, and recruits are taking notice, it looks like. And so it's making shockwaves out in California. So he's taken official visits to Cal, Michigan State, and Oklahoma State. He has them scheduled to UCLA, Arizona, and Vandy. Vandy's getting the last visit. So you're going to see just how the last visit, typically, if he keeps that on schedule, I feel really good about it. And I think it's going to be, he's still looking for a lot of things, and Vandy's going to have a chance to make that last impression. You know what they say about recruits in the last visit? It's all about that last impression. So, man, this should be a huge haul, man, getting another great offensive lineman. You got an interior one that I haven't talked about. But you get you another tackle prospect coming out of high school, some guy to develop him on the pipeline. I mean, this is going to be an interesting deal if he can commit. So, I'm looking at these schools. Dude, you want to play in the SEC? You want to play in the SEC. Stanford out. They're in the ACC. Man, come play in the SEC. Oklahoma State, Mike Gundy's about to retire, man. Like, I don't know. Like, Oklahoma State's hustling backwards. Same with Michigan State. They're okay. Jonathan Smith's a pretty good coach, but they're just okay. Cal, they're in the ACC. It's a weird conference. UCLA, they're not very good, man. But they do have Nico Iamaleava. Arizona State, I think if you're looking at academics, they're not an academic powerhouse, but they are a good program with Jordan Dillingham. Arizona, they're okay with Jed Fish. They're good. They're solid. Vanderbilt on the rise, man. You're playing you're one of the top academic schools in the country. You're in the SEC. You're in one of the fastest growing cities in the Southeast. It's a slam dunk. And then you get to come develop your 6'6", 270. You're going to get in a premier weight program. You'll probably play at about 305. You'll be in line to start at quick tackle. And it's just, to me, it's a slam dunk. Anyway, speaking of slam dunks, Vandy baseball is going to wrap their regular season with a meaningless series against Kentucky. Austin Nye gets his debut. We're going to talk about the Vandy boys coming up next. Don't go nowhere. All right. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen. If you're a loyal third segment listener, man, thank you. Welcome. We're gonna do this extended third segment a little bit. Usually I'm kind of rushing at the end because I talk about football too much. I'm a football guy. What can I say? But I want to talk a little baseball because there's some interesting things happening this weekend, and this is an interesting series because Kentucky ultimately is built very similarly to Vanderbilt. And what they do, they play good fundamental baseball. They don't make a ton of mistakes in the field. They're aggressive on the base paths when they finally get there, and they struggle a little bit. They're very much the same, except Vandy has a little more power. They hit for a little more power. They can score more frequently, and especially as of late. But here's how this series kind of shakes out. Here's my takeaways, my preview takeaways, I should say. Some things that I'm looking for in this series. So. I love this. Austin Nye is getting his rotation debut. What he's doing is providing. It's for a lot of reasons, right? I think the main reason is they want to test to see if he can handle being a postseason fourth starter, right? Because you have Bowker, you have Fennell, who's been struggling a little bit, and you have J.D. Thompson, who's been very remarkably consistent, been pretty solid the whole year. So you're going to need that fourth guy, because you're going to play a whole bunch of games back to back, and if you can get a good solid 4-man rotation, in a regional setting, you can have some quality pitching, and so they're going to test to see kind of how he does in that starter role because he's been the midweek guy, and he's been doing really good. He has a 2.09 ERA. So he did well against Louisville. He wasn't in very long, but he did well against Louisville. And this gives a chance for Connor Fennell, who's been struggling a little bit. I think they were probably planning on resting him regardless. But the fact that he's struggling and he's going to get a weekend off and he's just going to be able to get right and get his feet back under him, that's going to be really good for this ball club. And you get You don't have to move around J.D. Thompson. Like you can still have J.D. Thompson start on a Friday. He's going to be in his normal routine. He's used to being the Friday starter. And I think it throws them off when they have these off series on these when it shifts up a day. I think he gets off of his normal routine. I think keeping him as normal as possible is going to be very important. And then Cody Bowker gets that rubber match or gets that third game start. So you're looking at a team that is going to be they're going to be loaded at pitching. They have a good bullpen. They have a really good closer in Sawyer Hawks. Now they got to see, can Austin Nye do it? He's a freshman. Can he do it? Can he start against a good opponent? And can he dominate, or can he pitch well? Can he have a good outing? And I think Tim Corbin's going to let him go. So this is going to be a good test. I'm excited about it. And then you're going to get some more tests, ready or not, in the SEC tournament. Now, here's the thing. Kentucky's has a very disappointing record. I don't think they've really wowed a lot of people this season. I think they've had a very kind of a disappointing run, so to speak. So, I think mental focus is going to come into play here. I think because Vanderbilt's gotten very lackadaisical in some games, and they get lackadaisical. They have lackadaisical innings. Sometimes they just never really get out of their own way. Sometimes they may have, some lackadaisical moments throughout the game. Any of that will be magnified in postseason. And so I think you have to kind of fight that a little bit. You have to kind of, and that's going to be one of the keys. That's going to be one of the things that I'm looking for. Mental focus is going to be put to the test. Can they remain focused for 3 games, finish out the season? I think they would have the best conference record if they can get a sweep of Kentucky. They will have 19 conference wins. Here's their resume, by the way. They're 16-11 in conference as of right now. If they swept, they would be 19-11. I think that would be good for best in the conference. This is a very important series. They need to be sharp from here on out. And this is their test. Like, they're going to play against the team in the regionals that is not quite as good, like that 4th seeded team. Because, Vandy, I think if Vandy wins this series, they're locked to host a regional. They're locked for that. I don't think it matters what they do in the SEC tournament, but they're a lock to host a regional. They're locked to get, I think they're just about a lock to get, to get a bye all the way until Thursday in the SEC tournament. So if they can pull that, so this series isn't meaningless. I say meaningless in quotes because Kentucky's just not as strong of an opponent as they usually are. And then, of course, Vandy's had some things. They've found some answers in the middle of the lineup. Can they continue that throughout the course of this series? Can they come out and can they mash, right? Colin Barzy, Braden Holcomb, they've hit 7 home runs in SEC play. They have, they've really solidified themselves in the middle of that lineup there. Brody Johnston is producing. Rustin Rigdon is somebody, and those 2 guys are freshmen, and they're just doing it. And then you factor in Jonathan Vastine, who I think is getting overshadowed a little bit, and RJ Austin. They have a really potent lineup. And so this is going to be, can they keep that going? This is the thing that sets them apart. They have better power than Kentucky does. Kentucky's trying to, Kentucky is what Vanderbilt would have been had they not figured out their lineup. If Vanderbilt continued to do their small ball routine, and, this is how they would be. They'd be 13-14 in conference play, 29-20, looking for a run in the SEC tournament to be able to even get to a regional. But they figured it out. They're sitting at 16-11, staring at the best record in the conference. But for Kentucky, they don't have any stars. But Patrick Herrera, Cole Hagee, and freshman Tyler Bell, those are their best hitters. Hagee has double-digit home runs. He has 11 home runs. Bell has 27 extra base hits, but he has 8 homers, so he's not far behind. 17 doubles, 2 triples. Herrera, he's not. He's a guy that just gets on base. He's not anything special after that. Their rotation is Nate Harris, who has a 4.2 ERA. They're, as a staff, they have 4.45 ERA, and they're top 25 in the country for fielding percentage. They're pretty good defensively, but they don't make a ton of mistakes. They don't beat themselves, which is good. They just don't have any star power to really drive them ahead in any of these games. So I'm looking forward to it. But the big storyline is Austin Nye. Game 1 is going to be important. Game 1 is going to be huge. Can Austin Nye, can he give you a quality start? Can he give you 6-7 innings of quality pitching? And can he do it? Can he show that he can do it in postseason? I think he can. I think he's going to be able to. He's proven in the midweek games that he can shut you down, and so it's going to be very, very interesting in that regard. So, but speaking of very interesting in that regard, that's all I got, and that's all I got for you on this episode. So until next time, we'll see you back here, Locked On Vandy, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for making us your first listen. Like, subscribe, follow us on social media at Locked On Vandy everywhere. Thanks for listening. We'll see you back here next time. Peace.